Did you know that in 2025, these 10 European countries are cracking down on Filipino immigrants, with mass deportations happening right now? Some of these nations might shock you. So, stay tuned as we count down from number 10 to the most aggressive country. Oh, before we start, comment down below where you are watching, and we worked hard on this video. So, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring you more content like this. And now, let's dive in. Number 10. Italy. Italy is a country famous for its art, history, and beautiful cities like Rome and Venice. But in 2025, it has become a difficult place for Filipino immigrants. The Italian government has started deporting many Filipinos due to strict new visa rules. Officials say they want to give jobs to European Union citizens first. Because of this, over 1,200 Filipinos were sent back to the Philippines in just 6 months. Most of these Filipinos worked as domestic helpers, caregivers, and cleaners. Many had lived in Italy for years, building stable lives. Now, with rising unemployment among Italians, the government is checking immigrants more strictly. Some Filipinos are being forced to leave even after decades of work. Families are being separated, and many are afraid to go outside, fearing they will be caught and deported. Filipino groups in Italy are protesting, saying their work helped the country's economy, especially during the pandemic. They argue that deporting them is unfair. However, Italy's government, led by far-right leaders, is not stopping the deportations. The European Union has not stepped in yet, leaving many Filipinos uncertain about their future. Without legal status, they face the risk of losing everything they worked for in Italy. Number 9. Germany. Germany has long been a top choice for skilled Filipino workers, especially nurses. But in 2025, the country has tightened its immigration laws, leading to over 900 Filipinos being deported. Many lost their visas for small reasons, like missing paperwork or failing language tests. The government calls these rules integration laws, but critics say they unfairly target immigrants. Filipino nurses were once welcomed in Germany to fill healthcare shortages. Now, even those with jobs face deportation if they make small mistakes in their documents. Hospitals are protesting, saying losing Filipino staff will hurt patient care. But the government is not changing its decision. Public opinion in Germany has shifted, with more people supporting fewer immigrants. Filipino workers who once felt secure now worry about their future. Advocacy groups are pushing for amnesty, but the government is focused on reducing migration. Germany's reputation as a welcoming country for foreign workers is fading fast. Number 8. Switzerland. Switzerland is known for its high salaries, clean cities, and stunning Alps. But in 2025, it has started deporting Filipino workers at a rapid pace. The Swiss government introduced new labor quotas, preferring EU workers over non-Europeans. Over 800 Filipinos, many working in hotels, cleaning, and childcare, have already been sent home. Officials say this protects jobs for locals, but Filipinos argue they do work Swiss citizens often refuse. Many Filipinos had stable lives in Switzerland for years, supporting families back home. Now, even long-term workers are being denied visa renewals. Some have no homes to return to in the Philippines. Advocacy groups call the policy cruel, especially since Switzerland still needs workers in many industries. Protests have erupted in Swiss cities, with employers joining Filipinos in demanding change. But the government insists strict immigration control is necessary. With time running out, thousands of Filipinos in Switzerland face an uncertain future. Number 7. Austria. Austria, with its beautiful cities like Vienna, was once a peaceful place for Filipino immigrants. But in 2025, everything changed. The government, led by right-wing leaders, started a strict campaign to deport foreigners who overstay their visas. More than 700 Filipinos have already been forced to leave, many of them caregivers for Austria's elderly. Filipino workers in Austria often took care of seniors in nursing homes, a job that locals rarely wanted. Now, with so many caregivers deported, families are struggling to find help for their elderly relatives. Many Austrians are angry, saying the government is hurting its own people, but officials refuse to change the policy, insisting that Austrians should get these jobs first. The Filipino community is fighting back, with protests growing in Vienna and other cities. Some Austrian politicians are calling for exceptions for essential workers, but the government is not listening. With elections coming soon, public pressure might force a change. But for now, Filipinos who spent years building lives in Austria are being sent away with little warning. Number 6. Sweden. Sweden has always been seen as a welcoming country, but in 2025, it started deporting Filipino immigrants in large numbers. The government cut work permits for non-EU workers, affecting Filipinos in tech, healthcare, and cleaning jobs. Over 600 have been deported, and many more could follow. Many Filipinos came to Sweden legally, only to have their visa renewals denied. The government says they didn't integrate well, but the language tests have become much harder. Some families are being split apart. Parents are deported while their children, born in Sweden, stay behind. Critics say Sweden is turning its back on its humanitarian values. Protests are happening across the country, with human rights groups taking legal action. Even Swedish companies are worried about losing skilled workers. But with anti-immigrant feelings growing, it's unclear if the government will listen. For now, Filipinos in Sweden live in fear of being forced to leave. Wait! If you are Filipino and still watching this, please comment, Mabuhay. And now, let's dive in. Number 5. Norway. Norway, known for its high quality of life, is now deporting Filipino workers who helped build key industries. In 2025, the government introduced new immigration rules that favor high-skilled workers, leaving many Filipinos in fishing and domestic work without jobs. Over 500 have already been deported. Filipinos worked in Norway's fishing industry, doing difficult jobs that Norwegians often avoided. Now, despite labor shortages, they are being sent away. Some have been held in detention centers for months before deportation. Many Norwegians are divided. Some support the policy, while others say it's cruel to workers who contributed to the economy. Legal challenges are growing, and activists are protesting in Oslo and other cities. The government says the rules protect Norwegian wages, but critics call it unfair. With elections coming, this issue could become a major debate. Will Norway change its policy, or will more Filipinos lose their livelihoods? Number 4. Belgium. Belgium, home to the European Union headquarters, was once a welcoming place for Filipino workers. But in 2025, the government began enforcing strict new hiring laws that prioritize Belgian citizens over foreign workers. Over 1,000 Filipinos have already been deported, many of them working in hotels, restaurants, and office jobs. Even Filipinos employed by EU institutions have lost their jobs, despite years of loyal service. Belgian employers are frustrated, saying Filipino workers are skilled and dependable. But political pressure to hire locals has become more important than job performance. Families are being torn apart, with children forced to leave schools suddenly in the middle of the year. Legal challenges have been filed, but Belgium's government is standing firm. With far-right political parties gaining influence, the situation for Filipinos is getting worse. Many fear that more deportations are coming, leaving them with no job security. Protests have broken out in Brussels, with Filipino workers and their supporters demanding fair treatment. Some Belgian politicians are speaking out, but so far, no changes have been made. For Filipinos who built their lives in Belgium, the future looks uncertain. Number 3. Denmark. Denmark is often called the world's happiest country, but in 2025, it has become a place of fear for Filipino immigrants. The government introduced harsh ghetto laws that target neighborhoods with many immigrants, labeling them as high-risk areas. Over 1,200 Filipinos have been deported, many of them working in restaurants, cleaning services, and caregiving jobs. Even Filipinos with legal residency are being forced to leave if they live in areas the government considers non-integrated. Families who have lived in Denmark for years, paying taxes and following the rules, are being given only weeks to pack up and go. Danish business owners are angry, saying they rely on Filipino workers, but the government insists these deportations are necessary for social cohesion. Protests have erupted in Copenhagen, with Danes and immigrants alike demanding justice. International media and human rights groups have criticized Denmark's policies, but the government refuses to back down. For Filipinos who once saw Denmark as a safe place to build a future, the dream is fading fast. With no signs of the deportation stopping, many are left wondering if this is the new reality for immigrants across Europe. Number 2. France. France, famous for its liberty, equality, fraternity motto, has taken a harsh turn against Filipino immigrants in 2025. Under President Le Pen's new government, strict French-first hiring laws have led to over 2,000 Filipino deportations, mostly domestic workers, nannies, and elderly caregivers. Wealthy families who relied on them are now struggling to find replacements, while Filipinos who spent years, even decades, serving French households are being forced out. The emotional impact is devastating. Many Filipino nannies raised French children from infancy, forming deep bonds. Now, tearful goodbyes are common as kids beg their caregivers not to leave. The government defends the policy as economic patriotism, but critics call it heartless. Protests have erupted across Paris, with French unions joining Filipino workers in strikes. Le Pen's supporters cheer the crackdown, while opposition leader Macron condemns it. But with anti-immigrant sentiment rising, France's reputation as a multicultural society is fading fast. For Filipinos who once saw France as a land of opportunity, the dream is over. Hello, kababayan! If you want a shout-out, just type, Mabuhay, shout out me. And now, let's go to the top of the list. Number 1. United Kingdom. The UK now holds the shameful title of Europe's worst country for deporting Filipinos in 2025. Prime Minister Farage's Britain First policy has resulted in over 5,000 Filipino removals, more than any other nation. Nurses, construction workers, and even students are being targeted, despite many having lived in the UK for years. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the UK desperately recruited Filipino healthcare workers to save its struggling NHS. Now, those same heroes are being discarded. Hospitals face severe staff shortages, but the government insists on British jobs for British workers. Even families with UK-born children are being torn apart, parents deported while their kids stay behind. The global backlash is fierce, with human rights groups and world leaders condemning the UK's cruelty. But Farage remains defiant, promising even more deportations. For Filipinos who once believed in Britain's promise of fairness, the betrayal is complete. The UK's diverse society is crumbling, and no immigrant is safe. These deportations are tearing families apart. Did any shock you? Let us know in the comments. Smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more uncensored updates. This is Global News Now. Stay aware, stay strong.